Hello, everyone. Welcome to This Week in Tyranny, Episode 3. I am your host, Conrad Rogas. Today it is December 24th. It is Christmas Eve. And tyranny does not wait. Tyranny does not have holidays, so neither do we. We are going to keep up with tyranny. So I hope everybody is having a great holiday. And I hope you are. I'll be back to wish you a Happy New Year with another episode, a New Year's episode. Especially during the Christmas time, the time of the holidays, it is more appropriate to speak the truth, to tell the news with no filter, no censorship, and no makeup, as we do here, and reminding you that if tyranny is not at your doorstep during these holidays, that's because there's someone in the streets keeping it at bay. On this episode, there will be only one topic. A big topic that happened, especially if you live in the United States. The $1.7 trillion budget bill is on its way. Yesterday, the House passed it through, sent it to the Senate. Of course, the way this has come out in the news, it's a done deal. The budget bill is going to pass. It is going to happen. And we'll talk about all about it, and we'll talk about why it's tyrannical. Okay, so first subtopic of this subject. The Department of Defense is going to get a 9% funding increase, meaning the military. And the Senate voted 83-11 on Thursday. This is December 16th, so last Thursday, to authorize an 8% defense budget increase from last year's levels. And this is the 2023 National Defense Authorization Act. It adds $45 billion to what the White House even requested. So it's, as far as negotiations go, this is somebody overpaying. Imagine that. This $858 billion act includes a 4.6% pay raise for members of the military, for the troops, as well as billions of dollars of additional funding to help the Pentagon cope with inflation and extend capacity for the defense industrial base to produce major weapon system and continue certain programs that the Biden administration sought to cancel. So they are getting more than they requested somehow. Interesting. Another thing included in this act is $45 billion in emergency assistance to Ukraine. And this is not to end the war and defeat Putin and get them out of the Ukraine, to get the Russians out and get them back off of a land that they do not own. This is, of course, to continue the war, because that is what the U.S. government is in the business of, proliferating war. The war machine, the military-industrial complex. Ending wars is only done when absolutely necessary. And that's the United States of America. I'll return to that topic. And we'll go to this topic, a false divide. This is a quote from Mitch McConnell, what he said after this has been passed. We've transferred huge sums of money away from the Democrats' spending wish list toward our national defense and armed forces, but without allowing the overall cost of the package to go higher, Mitch McConnell proudly said. The Democrats' spending wish list, as opposed to national defense and armed forces, which are not extravagant, arbitrary things that we do not need, right? That's actually necessary, according to Mitch McConnell and many people. But he is proud of the fact that the cost didn't go higher, that they were able to negotiate with the Democrats. But what we should be talking about is that it didn't go lower. The resources have just been reallocated. But you didn't get your resources back. These are taxes we did not ask to pay that are going just like this. If it's not the Democrat spending wish list, it's the Republican spending wish list, the war hawks. This is the same old deal. But let's not just talk about defense. The spending on non-defense programs will go up by about 6%. So not as much as the 9% for defense. But ask yourself, are you getting a 6% raise? The answer is no. What we're getting are higher taxes, higher prices, and more fees as we continue to, as we spiral downwards toward dystopia. And the gap between us and the ruling classes are increasing. And that gap is getting closer to the point where the ruling classes will begin to rule openly, as in human history they always have, when they have the power and when they have the guns as taken away from the people. And then they no longer have to pretend that they are acting in our best interests. This is how criminals behave. From false divide to a false compromise. There's talk about the compromise beating back the Democrats. But by the way, when they're fighting over abortion or fighting over this and that, it seems like the split is 50-50. All the popular votes go 50-50. It feels like everything's 50-50 because of the nation's ideological hyperpolarization. But when it came to this, the National Defense Authorization Act, the Senate voted 83-11. Wow. Imagine if your family consisted of 100 members. Would you have an 83-11 vote on anything? You wouldn't have an 83-11 vote if you asked what the holiday it is. Some people will say it's Christmas. Some people will say something else. I don't know if that many people will agree on whether the sky is blue or not. But when it comes to our lawmakers, when it comes to feeding money to the war machine, to the so-called national defense and armed forces, that goes without a problem. But Mitch McConnell and the GOP, they're proud that they have successfully slashed IRS funding. Remember, there's been a lot of talk about the big mean to $87,000 new IRS agents that were included in the Inflation Reduction Act. That was another $739 billion. But the GOP lawmakers demanded the cut so that the IRS does not get any more money, stating that the IRS is already supposed to be getting money from the Inflation Reduction Act. And for next year, that budget has allocated $12.3 billion to the IRS, which is 2.2% less than they received last year. So the IRS actually got their funding cut. Now, I love to see that as much as the next guy. But is this a victory? Is this something to celebrate? No. The Biden administration initially wanted a $1.3 billion increase. So, well, it's a good thing they didn't get that. But quick historical context to taxes. Before the Civil War, 1 to 2% of the GDP went to taxes. And then the IRS was actually created to fund the Civil War, to get money for the Civil War. Before that, there was no Internal Revenue Service. There was no central tax agency in the United States in the first almost 100 years of the existence of the nation. And then when it was created, it jumped to 6% of the country's GDP, or gross domestic product, went towards taxes. And then it slowly decreased back down to 2%. And then World War I happened, and then increased back to 5 to 7%. So first it was the Civil War, now World War I, and then it decreased a little bit, hung around, and then World War II happened. And then it was increased to 20%. Now all of a sudden 20% of your earnings are going to taxes. Now World War II did that. And then it decreases slowly a little bit. And then 9/11 happens and it goes back up to 20%. Now, I should attach the chart because you could see these statistics for yourself. It's clear as day what events cause taxes to go up. It is big traumatic events and then war. War, it takes our money away. All this money that goes into the national defense and armed forces, the war machine. And guess what's happening now? The war in Ukraine. Now, this is 100% a real war, a violation of the rights of the people of Ukraine, and Putin absolutely needs to be defeated. I'm not one of these guys that says, oh, nobody should get involved, it's their problem, not mine. No, this is my problem. Human enslavement, that's my problem. That's why I'm involved. But your money from taxes and my money from taxes will not go to ending war and getting people freed from the war machine. It is going to proliferate the war machine. And the companies that lobby for the lawmakers to keep passing these budget bills to get more money. This is a cycle, and this is actually racketeering. Okay, but let's talk about the distractions, because nobody's going to be talking about the war machine. Nobody's going to be talking about taxes, really, and how taxation is illegitimate, and it's not only theft, it's slavery, it's human enslavement. Let's talk about the distractions, what people are going to talk about when this bill is mentioned. There's a ban on the use of TikTok on government-owned devices. So people that work for the government, they have their company phone, they won't be able to use TikTok because TikTok is owned by a Chinese company. Completely irrelevant. Another thing included in this bill is the Electoral Count Act, which addresses the vice president's role in counting votes of a presidential election. It clarifies that, and this is all to prevent another January 6th. There has been a lot of talk about the January 6th insurrection, right? And at the same time, the courts are going through this whole thing like the Johnny Depp trial. Now it's the Donald Trump trial. They're talking about his tax returns, and now they're talking about the Electoral Count Act. That is no coincidence. That is why there's so much noise about this. It is to distract from the immorality and the taking of our hard-earned money, taking our life, our health, our spirit away through another budget bill, amounts of money that we will never see in our lives. We cannot even conceive of the enormous amount of money that are going to not only go to thieves, they're going to go to death and destruction and invasion and war. And of course, this budget bill didn't happen around Easter time. It didn't happen on the 4th of July. It is happening right before Christmas. It is happening right before Christmas under the threat of the government shutdown. So not only is it happening at Christmas time, where the people do not have the time or energy to do the research and get upset about this bill and stand up against it like I am right now. No, they don't have time to research it. And also, even if they did, you've got the scaring of people because the government's going to get shut down. Government shut down again because they didn't pass the budget bill in October when they should. They're going to wait till the absolute deadline. And this is the behavior of people that we entrust to take our earnings, and we entrust them with the direction of the nation, of our lives. No way. There's something wrong with this. We got to put holidays have to wait. We got to put the holidays on hold because this needs to be addressed. Intentional procrastination. They wait. They create a false urgency, right? There's a false urgency now. It's got to get passed through quick. And who's going to say no? Do you want the government to get shut down? Or if you're talking about this at the Christmas Eve or the Christmas dinner, you must be crazy. They're going to look at you like you're crazy, right? Because it's supposed to be the holidays. We worked so hard all year. They take our earnings away all year. And then when the decisions are made, tyranny does not wait around during the holidays. They plot and plan like a chess master to take more of our life force away and our energy away. And under duress, we allow these things to get passed. There will be no protests about this budget bill. There's only going to be this. Only talking. And the government's behavior in this time demonstrates that government is the enemy of the people. And that is what I wanted to get across to all the viewers and listeners this week in tyranny. That is the important thing. It needs to be said. But in the meantime, I hope you're enjoying your holiday and going into the new year. Let's rebuild the energy to stand up to tyranny, because it will not wait. It will not wait for us to get ready. We need to be ready. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas.